Imagine waking up tomorrow and your phone suddenly costs twice as much. New cars stop rolling off factory lines. AI companies hit the brakes. Game consoles disappear from store shelves. Hospitals start delaying equipment deliveries. Even the military begins worrying about replacing critical technology. Now imagine all of that because of something smaller than your fingernail. Sounds ridiculous, right? But that's exactly how dependent our world has become. Today, we're talking about computer chips. Not the ones you eat while watching Netflix, although those are pretty important too. We're talking about the tiny pieces of silicon quietly running almost every part of modern life. And here's the crazy part. One company on one island makes most of the world's most advanced chips. If something happened to that company, the entire global economy could feel it. So how did humanity put so much trust into something almost invisible? Let's find out. Take a look around you. Your phone, computer chip. Your laptop, computer chip. Smartwatch, chip. Smart TV, chip. Your Wi-Fi router, believe it or not, also a chip. Even your refrigerator probably has one. Modern cars, not one chip, hundreds. Some luxury cars have thousands. They're controlling everything from your navigation system, to your brakes, to the tiny sensors that tell you someone forgot to buckle their seatbelt. It's honestly amazing. We've reached a point where your toaster probably has more computing power than the computers that help send astronauts to the moon. And yet, most people never think about any of this. Because chips are invisible, they're buried inside devices. Out of sight, out of mind. Until they disappear. Back in 2020, something strange started happening. Car manufacturers began slowing production. Some factories shut down completely. People waited months for new vehicles. The price of used cars shot through the roof. At first, many people blamed COVID. And yes, the pandemic was a huge part of it. But there was another problem hiding underneath. There simply weren't enough computer chips. Think about that for a second. Companies worth hundreds of billions of dollars were forced to slow down because they couldn't get something smaller than a postage stamp. Imagine opening the world's biggest pizza restaurant, only to realize you've run out of cheese. That's basically what happened. Except instead of pizza, it was cars, phones, medical equipment, gaming consoles, and pretty much everything else. Suddenly, people realized just how fragile the global supply chain really was. Now, before your brain starts preparing for a science class, don't worry. This is actually simpler than it sounds. A computer chip, also called a semiconductor, is basically the brain of every electronic device. Its job is incredibly simple. Take information, process it, send instructions. That's it. Every time you unlock your phone, a chip is making thousands of tiny decisions in the blink of an eye. The amazing part isn't just what these chips do, it's how they're built. Inside one tiny chip, there can be tens of billions of microscopic transistors. Think of transistors like tiny on and off switches. Each one controls electricity. By themselves, they're almost meaningless, but billions of them working together create artificial intelligence, video games, medical scanners, fighter jets, spacecraft, and the phone sitting in your pocket. It's honestly one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements. If chips are so important, why doesn't every country just build more factories? Great question. Because making advanced computer chips is unbelievably difficult. In fact, it might be one of the hardest manufacturing processes humans have ever invented. The machines used to build them cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Some factories cost over $20 billion to build. That's more than the GDP of some countries. And cleanliness? It's on another level. The air inside these factories is cleaner than hospital operating rooms. One tiny dust particle, something your eyes can barely see, can ruin an entire chip. Imagine spending $20 billion on a factory, only to spend every day making sure nobody sneezes. Not exactly the glamorous side of technology. And here's where things get really interesting. Because despite all the money, all the engineers, and all the technology in the world, very few companies can actually make the most advanced chips. In fact,
one company has become so important that governments around the world quietly lose sleep thinking about it. And that company is on an island most people couldn't even point to on a map.
Where are all these incredibly advanced chips actually made? The answer surprises almost everyone. Taiwan, an island about 180 kilometers off the coast of China, roughly the size of the Netherlands, has become the center of the modern technology industry. And that's because of one company, TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. If you've never heard of it, don't worry, most people haven't. But chances are, you've used something today that wouldn't exist without it. Your iPhone? TSMC helped make the chip. Your PlayStation? Probably. That gaming PC you've been saving up for? Very likely. Even the massive AI servers powering tools like ChatGPT rely on chips manufactured by TSMC. It's one of the most important companies on Earth, yet most people couldn't even tell you what the letters TSMC stand for. Now here's the statistic that makes governments pay attention. TSMC manufactures around 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductor chips. Read that again. Not 20%, not 40%, about 90%. Imagine if one bakery produced almost every loaf of bread on Earth. Now imagine that bakery suddenly closed. That's essentially what the world is risking with advanced chips. It didn't happen overnight. Back in the 1980s, most technology companies designed and built their own chips. But building factories was becoming unbelievably expensive. So TSMC had a different idea. What if we build the chips for everyone? Instead of competing with Apple, they manufactured Apple's chips. Instead of competing with NVIDIA, they built NVIDIA's chips. AMD? Same story. Qualcomm? Yep. Dozens of the world's biggest technology companies all rely on TSMC. It was an incredibly simple business model. Become so good that nobody wants to build chips themselves anymore. And that's exactly what happened. Year after year, TSMC stayed ahead. They invested billions, hired the best engineers, built more advanced factories, improved manufacturing processes. Meanwhile, many competitors struggled to keep up. Today, when companies design revolutionary new processors, they often send those designs straight to Taiwan. It's almost like Hollywood writes the movie, but only one studio has the cameras capable of filming it,